Hello. Okay, Wicked, a musical fantasy adaptation of the much-loved Broadway musical of the same name, directed by a Jon M. I've seen the show, the musical, twice, and it's one of those shows that really took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, and I'm going to admit, I'm not a massive fan of the musical numbers within the show.
What the fuck is this?
That's nothing to do with the performances or anything. It's just when it comes to the musical aspect, for me it's just very okay. But what I found myself really admiring about the show, or just gravitating towards, was its story and sort of these characters' journeys of Elphaba and Glinda, their relationship, and just those darker themes within its story. And that is what I found myself really admiring about the show, and I just found myself really liking it. And so I've been looking forward to seeing how this translates over into film. I was one of those kids that grew up with The Wizard of Oz. It's a movie that I watched quite a bit when I was a kid, so there's definitely that kind of nostalgic element there for me. So the story of Wicked is set in the land of Oz, and it offers a unique perspective on the well-known tale of The Wizard of Oz. It follows the lives of two witches, Elphaba, who is born with green skin and is misunderstood, and Glinda, the popular and bubbly sorceress. The story explores their friendship and the events leading up to the rise of the Wicked Witch of the West. So, I really want to start off with saying just how much I adored the effort that went into bringing the world of Oz to life within Wicked through the use of practical effects, you know, real life sets that we've got our characters, our actors all performing within. For me, it just really gives what is a very fantastical story a much more sort of tangible feeling. You know, it allows us to sort of really buy into or believe that these characters exist within this very fantastical world, and a very fantastical world that actually ends up feeling like it exists because of that effort that went into sort of bringing this world to life through real life sets. Like, it looks fantastic. It really did in many ways, not just through the set design and how they brought it to life, but through the cinematography as well. I mean, I know a lot of people have commented on how they feel sort of the film has a kind of dull look to it when it comes to the colours, but for me it somewhat works, because for all of these different elements, whatever it be, the set design, how the world is brought to life, the cinematography, it's all got that kind of nostalgic essence of traditional filmmaking to it. It felt like I was a kid again watching The Wizard of Oz, and I felt like Jon M. captures that essence of traditional filmmaking here within this movie. Like with those classics, like The Wizard of Oz, I think he captures that essence and tone beautifully here through all of those elements. You know, how this movie was crafted, how this very fantastical world was brought to life, just gave me joy. Especially in moments where, you know, you see that very retro futuristic train for the first time. It just gave me so much joy because, you know, it exists within this world. They actually built it. It isn't a CGI creation. And it adds so much to the immersion of what is a very fantastical story. And I just found myself really admiring this aspect of the movie and how it was crafted. Like, I just love, you know, when I saw that train for the first time within the frame, it did. The only way I could describe it is nostalgia and joy, because this is what filmmaking is, you know, to bring these very fantastical elements to life in a way that feels real, that feels tangible. And I think Jon M. does a wonderful job at achieving that here with Wicked. But with all that being said, I really want to touch on what is a very minor gripe from me, but it still, you know, it bugged me, it frustrated me. And that is when it comes to how they brought to life the Wizard's monkey guards. Now, they're fully CGI creations here, and that did frustrate me to an extent, because there is such an effort here within Wicked to bring this world to life through practical effects and real life sets, that when it came to us being introduced to these creatures, it just frustrated me, because I'm like, why didn't you just put a person in a suit? I mean, they've done such a great job at capturing that kind of very nostalgic essence of traditional filmmaking. You know, we're bringing this world to life. You know, it took me back to being a kid again, watching that classic, The Wizard of Oz, that for me, it just would have made sense if you'd put a person in a suit. And I was a little bit surprised that they went fully CGI for the creatures. But that is just a minor gripe from me. It didn't take away from my overall enjoyment of this movie. It just frustrated me a little bit, but like, I don't know what the decision making or, you know, what was sort of going on behind the scenes when it came to the decision making in how they would bring these creatures to life. You know, in one way I can see perhaps why they went down that route, because there are moments, especially during the transformation scene, where it's quite intense, and I feel like that if that had been achieved through practical effects, that it would have been a very intense moment. It would have heightened how intense that moment was, I feel, if it had been done through practical effects. And obviously, you know, this film, they want all ages to go out and watch this movie. It would have just been maybe a little too intense for a younger audience, and maybe that played a part in that kind of decision making. I don't know, but that does kind of lead me then into another minor gripe that I had with this overall experience, and that's with the darker aspects of its story, with the themes that they are exploring within the story of Wicked. Now, they are quite dark, and that's what really kind of attracted me, or allowed me to sort of really get swallowed up within this story, is those themes, those darker themes that they are exploring, that does reflect a very real world that we have lived in or are living in. And I feel like it's done really well here. I think it works really well within the story. And like I said 100 times already, this is a very minor gripe from me, but I just feel like when it comes to those darker themes within its story, you know, when it comes to the silencing of the animals and all of that, I just feel like sometimes the intensity behind those darker themes are lacking a little bit, to the point where perhaps they don't fully come to life in moments. And a lot of that for me was also reflected within the music. But for me personally, it's not about the musical numbers.
What the fuck is this?
For me, it was always about the story and these characters' journeys and what it is the story is reflecting. And that is what I fell in love with when it came to the show. And I know that's going to upset perhaps people, or sort of, it sounds weird. But for me, when it comes to the musical aspect, it was never really my cup of tea. But what swallowed me up within this world is the characters' journeys and what it is that they are going through emotionally. And I just feel like at times the musical numbers, only in moments, really lacks the intensity they need to kind of reflect those darker themes that they are exploring. But like I said, this is a minor gripe. I'm without a doubt in a minority here, but none of those minor gripes for me took away from my overall enjoyment of this experience. It didn't take away from that emotional journey of these characters. I was emotionally invested within this story. I was emotionally swallowed up by these characters' journeys, and a lot of that is brought to life by the fantastic performances from Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. I think that's how you pronounce the surname. Apologies if it's incorrect. But Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba was amazing. Just how she brought this character to the life and sort of conveyed what this character was going through emotionally, internally, was so powerful. And it would be sort of some of the briefest of moments and shots where she would just look at the camera and it hits hard emotionally. I'm going to admit it, there are moments within this movie that I teared up, and a lot of that is just down to how these characters are brought to life. But it's also a story where I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it, connect to, and there are moments that really took me by surprise. There is one moment within the third act. I actually can't remember if it was in the show or not. But all I'll say is, because this is a spoiler-free review, Elphaba is looking at a reflection of herself. And it really hit me hard in a way that I just wasn't expecting, because it's a moment that says so much. And again, it sort of really goes into the kind of the darker aspect of what they are exploring here thematically when it comes to the human aspect of its story. And it really resonated with me, and as a result, it kind of really heightened the emotional power behind this story. And it all accumulates into what is a fantastic final. And it gets the blood pumping, like you want to sort of fist pump the air. Yeah. And it did. It drew applause. There are people who clapped within my showing, and this is, you know, I'm in the UK. We don't do that here in the UK. And it showed how much of a power that this story had, a connection that this story has to a lot of people, and just how well made and how well this story was constructed here within Wicked. So yeah, Wicked. This really took me by surprise. Like, I know I enjoyed the show, and a lot of that was just down to the story and the characters' journeys. But this movie swallowed me up in a way that I really didn't expect it to. It really resonated with me emotionally. Wicked is a movie that reflects our times in a way that's both poignant and smart. It's a perfect movie to come out right now due to the current global climate, because of the themes that it does explore, and it's all done in a way that feels natural and organic within its story. This is what movies do and always have done, which is in some ways through its themes reflect the state of the world we are currently in, and I feel that this adaptation came at the perfect time. So yeah, I really enjoyed Wicked. I think I might have even loved it. Like, I don't love the musical aspect.
What the fuck is this?
But it's just something in regards to how they constructed and how they crafted this world and brought it to life through the performances. When it comes to the performances with the musical numbers, they are fantastic. I'm not taking away from that. It's just the music doesn't hit me in a way that it does for a lot of other people. But as an overall experience, this was a very enjoyable one. And I never thought I'd find myself saying that I enjoyed Wicked more than Gladiator 2. But it's because Wicked got one key thing right, and that was the human element of its story. So yeah, enough rambling on from me. They are my thoughts on Wicked, and I will be giving Wicked an 8 out of 10. So yeah, they are my thoughts on Wicked, but what do you guys think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you agree or disagree with anything I've said? And please let me know in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the video, then thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to watch future movie reviews from just some random Welsh geek rambling on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. My next movie review will be for Conclave, that releases next weekend. And I just want to say a massive thank you again to everyone that have connected with the channel, whether it be liking, disliking, commenting or subscribing. It means an awful lot. I'm hoping to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year, and it will always overwhelm me that so many of you already want to follow just some random Welsh geek rambling on about film and TV, but it really does mean a lot. So yeah, enough rambling from me. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll be catching you guys soon.